Adrenaline in his soul. The WWE Draft has no control. Cody Rhodes appears on SmackDown. Brand split, be damned. Hello and welcome to the SmackDown Review Podcast here on the WrestleTalk Podcast channel. I am your host, Tempest, alongside my wonderful and beautiful co-host, Sat E. Niangi. We are the House of the Black Mask. It's cold enough out that I can wear a sweater into work. Therefore, we wear black.
That's how the name originated. We were wearing black for a while. I noticed it, and I was like, we're House of the Black Mask, aren't we? That's what we are. I mean, I feel like the name was born after last year's Christmas party because we were coming out with different names. You know, I was coming up with a silly name. It was Sat Pest was the one that was like the leading one that went with.
Don't like.
Temp Sat. We were Temp Sat for a bit, and then House of the Black Mask. Came along. Is a spoof of House of Black, obviously. But, we're House of the Black Mask. The house always wins. But before we start, a little...
Getting better at that.
We are. It's almost in sync. And then soon enough, I may not have to look at my, fingers and my fist anymore. Anyway, what's causing all of this? What's causing all of this, Tempest? What's causing it? Happy Saturday, by the way.
Happy Saturday, indeed. Yes. We're going to get into this SmackDown Review Podcast and find out what is causing all of this, because you have a theory as to why Cody Rhodes just happened to be on SmackDown this one time.
Don't I?
You sure do. So, we're going to get into the, not main event segment, but the main event match, and the lead-in and the fallout of said match. Because we had an in-ring promo from Paul Heyman, who was flanked by Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso. And last week, of course, Jimmy Uso versus LA Knight, was set up for this show. So Paul Heyman is directing all of his promo time towards John Cena. This is really the fallout promo from Solo's win over John Cena at Crown Jewel. So he says that because of Solo Sikoa, John Cena is not here. John Cena is never going to get to say goodbye to the WWE Universe and to the C Nation. You're not going to see him here, there, anywhere in Hollywood, nothing, because of what Solo Sikoa did to him. And he's going on, and he makes fun of John Cena's music. He said, 3, 2, 1. That's right, John Cena, that was your cue. Your cue to come down here, do. Come in, hit the 5 moves of Doom on Jimmy. Hit the 5 moves of Doom on Solo. Hit the 5 moves of Doom on me. It didn't happen because you're not here because of Solo Sikoa. So he's really putting over Solo. And then, who makes the interruption but LA Knight? Yeah. And he comes out and he says that because of Jimmy Uso, Roman Reigns is still WWE champion. Without Jimmy Uso, he would be the WWE champion. And he makes a little rhyme, and it's good stuff, and this leads into the main event match, which, again, I think we've seen Jimmy Uso versus LA Knight in recent weeks. It was fine. It was the same thing. You know what you're going to get. He wins with the BFT. LA Knight gets another win. So, that's good. He's still getting big reactions. He's still one of the biggest stars on this show. People like doing the
Yeah.
And after the match, Solo Sikoa comes back out because Paul Heyman gets a phone call at the start of the match and he leaves, leaving Jimmy Uso to fend for himself, which he is unable to do. And Solo Sikoa then comes out at the end of the match to go face-to-face with LA Knight. But Jimmy Uso jumps LA Knight from behind. LA Knight gets hit with the Samoan spike, and they take LA Knight over to be put through the announce table. And who makes the save? Not John Cena, but Cody Rhodes, which is curious because Cody Rhodes is not on SmackDown.
No.
And hasn't really been involved with the Bloodline much at all as of late. But few things here. You could see this as the story resuming. We are now in November, which is only a stone's throw away from January and the Royal Rumble, which is then only a stone's throw away from WrestleMania. So we might start to see a little bit more Cody Rhodes' involvement in Bloodline matters going forward, because Lord knows he better damn well sure finish that story at WrestleMania.
Ugh, that story been going on for ages.
It's a never-ending story.
It's like me reading the AJ Mendez book. It's been never ending. I've been reading that book since 2020. I'm gonna be honest. Some books does take a long time to finish, and that's one of them. I'm still reading that book 3 years in.
So,
but the Brian Gewirtz book finished that in 3 days. What's that about?
You can tell what this guy likes. But Cody Rhodes, they beat up the Bloodline, and Cody Rhodes and LA Knight stand tall. Now,
yes,
that was the end of the segment. That was Cody Rhodes' involvement on this show.
Mm-hmm.
But you have a theory as to why Cody Rhodes may have been on this show. And I think it's a pretty darn good theory.
Thank you. 2 things. Number 1, Jimmy Uso did scream out the tag titles. Never really got a receipt for that. So that's number 1. Number 2, a certain Kevin Owens is suspended on SmackDown. I assume that Cody Rhodes, being the savvy negotiator, went over to said SmackDown and said, Nick Aldis, you and I, we've been around the block, been NWA champion, traded a couple of times. We're due for a 3rd match together. How about, you do me a favor and let Kevin come over to Raw and be part of my WarGames team? What say you, Nick? And Nick is like, what say you, Cody? I'll think about it and get back to you. Thank you, good sir. What's going on there? Bloodline shenanigans? Well, I do owe Jimmy a receipt. Toodles.
I think that could very well be the case because Kevin Owens is returning to SmackDown next week. So that suspension did not last very long. Oh. Perhaps that could be the time where all of the big reveals happen because he's supposed to be on the Grayson Waller effect, and Lord knows there isn't usually a reason for that show to take place other than to set up something having nothing to do with Grayson Waller. But that's fine. Kevin Owens only off a week with his suspension. That could be as a result of Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
Could be. I think it is hilarious, the idea that Cody Rhodes got Kevin Owens traded to SmackDown for Jey Uso, and then as actually, can I have him back for a couple weeks? I kind of need some help over here on the red brand. That would be funny. But I do also see it being very plausible that that is the case. However, theories and such aside, I want to put over the fact that this guy is the goddamn man.
Cody Rhodes.
Cody Rhodes comes out, and he gets the hero's welcome of a pop. Yeah. Like, LA Knight is the guy everybody's excited to see, everyone expects to see. He's booked in the main event match. Yeah. The whole deal. Like, he's the guy on SmackDown right now. He's the top babyface on SmackDown. And he gets the response that you would expect. Cody Rhodes was like, oh my God, we weren't expecting to see Cody Rhodes tonight.
I wasn't either.
I wasn't either. And he gets the big monstrous ovation as he comes down to clear the ring and save the day. He, to me, feels like the star of the company right now, and has for a very long time. I'm not the first one to say this, but my goodness, I just wanted to take a moment to appreciate Cody Rhodes appearing on SmackDown, because I'll be honest, there were some things on SmackDown that I thought were pretty good, but after last week, which felt like a really big SmackDown with lots of big moments, heel turns, good matches, a really huge main event, this felt like something where it was like, oh, big star has just arrived. And that was really, really cool, and I think reflects very well on dear Cody Rhodes.
And also, another thing, you mentioning Big Star being on SmackDown kind of reminded me, it's been weird to see a reduced screen time for the Bloodline over the last couple of weeks. I've enjoyed the fact that SmackDown hasn't been gravitating to, around the world that is, or the island of relevancy, should we say. SmackDown's, rotating around the island of relevancy that is the Bloodline. It was good that other storylines has been at the forefront over the last couple of weeks, which has added to my enjoyment. I feel like since Nick Aldis, I feel like him joining the company and starting on SmackDown, it's kind of correlated with what we've been seeing in a couple of weeks. It's just a different energy around the shows. Obviously, there wasn't a women's match on the show, boo, but they were...
I was going to get to that.
Yeah, part of match closing segment. But to the last part of my theory about the trade or whatever, I feel like what we're going to talk about later in the women's section also might correlate with Kevin Owens potentially being part of Team Raw. I'm assuming that this is gonna come out on Raw, and then the wall effect will just be a explanation how it came to be. Probably.
Yeah, that could very well be, and I think the ending segment of the show could very well play into that. I think that makes a lot of sense, and we will get to it. But let us know what you think about Cody Rhodes appearing on SmackDown, once again inserting himself into Bloodline business.
Yes.
Is this just a one-off, or is this the start of the end of the story? So let us know in the comments down below what you thought, and what you thought about SmackDown in general, while you give this video a big thumbs up and a subscribe if you haven't already. We are going to get into the rest of our SmackDown review here.
Yes, we are.
Because we opened the show with Damage Control.
Damage Control.
Sort of. Sort of. And I say sort of because Damage Control did come out, but there was some confusion in the ring about whether or not this new and improved Damage Control was officially cemented. Because Bayley gets in the ring and she's talking and she's very arrogantly proclaiming that she's a mastermind and the plan has come together, and she's playing chess while everyone else is playing Candyland, as she then screams Yahtzee because Bayley is the best. She's brought Asuka into this group. Everything is better. The new and improved Damage Control is the most dominant faction in WWE. And Kairi, Asuka, and Io then start like giggling to themselves and chatting in Japanese. And Bayley is like, haha, yeah, that's what I said, right, guys? So I don't know this. I don't speak Japanese. Perhaps somebody who is able to translate this, and I'm sure we'll see this on Twitter as soon as we're done.
Please do.
But it seemed very much like they were gossiping about Bayley getting got.
She's overcompensating. That's what it
Yeah.
was. They're laughing at her. Like, haha, silly fool. Look at her trying to take credit for what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
She doesn't know what's coming to her. And she's like, what? And she's paranoid. That's what I love about Bayley. Bayley's not a complete fool in that situation, though.
No, she kind of gets it. Like, she's still kind of an oblivious heel, but she's not totally oblivious where she's like, yeah. It's like, yeah, right?
Because
Yeah.
there's an uneasiness. She knows that she's not part of the plan. I think in the public, she wants to appear that she's in control. But secretly, she doesn't know what the heck is going on. This group hasn't been the same since Crown Jewel. Everyone's whispering, talking, saying things. She can sense something's happening. It's uneasy right now. Where's her best friend when she needs her?
The winds of change are blowing because, like, she'll take credit for this on TV, but she didn't bring Kairi into this group.
No.
And she didn't bring Asuka into this
She didn't know
group.
nothing.
So this goes on, and Bayley's uneasy, and Dakota says, well, this hasn't been a properly christened new group. You haven't welcomed Asuka into the group officially yet. And then they do that, and they're all like, yeah, Damage Control. And so then Shotzi's music hits. And Shotzi then leaps off the top rope, blindsides the heels. And Bianca comes out and Charlotte comes out, and they have a big brawl. But the babyfaces get overwhelmed. They cannot overcome the numbers disadvantage, and Damage Control clears the ring. And so Shotzi, Bianca, and Charlotte are all stood in the rampway as the first segment comes to an end. And then immediately after the commercial, they go backstage, and they're all like, boy, we need backup. We need some more help. What are we going to do? Shotzi's like, oh, I just want to kick their butt. I just want to kick their butt. So you can really tell that she's fired up. I hate this PG crap. Been watching this for like 15 years now. I'll never forget when DX was facing Legacy, and they said that Legacy were like butts, but not like the cheek. They were like more of the middle, because my God, 2009 is the doldrums of the PG era. But regardless.
No, but if you're talking about that, let me mention a certain guest commentator by the name of Road Dogg, who's filling in for Corey Graves. He, for some weird reason, goes, "Oh, you there to know? You better call somebody." It's like, no, your butt cheeks better call somebody. Add something to it. It doesn't make sense that why you can't say your butt cheeks better call somebody. The A double crooked letter. You can't say him the A double crooked letter. What's wrong with him?
I don't know.
You can't say it, and he ruined it. It's kind of like doing revisionist history. I'm like, you didn't say that in my childhood. You didn't say that when I was a kid. You said the A double S Say it.
Ass. When they called themselves, when Billy Gunn was called the Bad Bleep, the Bad Bleep, Mr. Bleep, Billy Gunn.
Yeah.
I was just like, why are we doing this anymore? Like, put DX in a retirement home. Which I did forget, maybe I just would have liked to, that Road Dogg was doing commentary for this show. And I'll be perfectly honest, I tuned him out for the entire show. I was not paying attention to Road Dogg's commentary whatsoever. And I think that was probably a good choice.
He was there. He wasn't offensive or offensive.
Yeah.
He was
Why can't we just have a two-man booth?
Because we know why. Because Kevin Patrick's a stink up the joint by himself with Michael Cole.
Michael Cole's had worst commentary partners over the years.
Yeah, but I don't know. You know what it is? Just put Kevin Patrick back where he belongs, backstage asking questions. No offense to the guy. He seems like a lovely guy. It's just that he doesn't have the oomph for it. I like that Jimmy Smith guy. He sounded like an MMA commentator because he was. And I miss that kind of presentation. Like Kevin Patrick, when he talks, he talks for the sake of talking and no one's listening. It's just like I miss the days when wrestling commentary was a piece of my enjoyment for wrestling. Nowadays, I don't care if I mute it. I'm just watching the action now because the commentary doesn't add anything anymore. It's a dying art. The arts is dying.
Need to put some more oomph in his bloom. So, back to the point at hand, of course. They declare that they need backup. So, they make that decision. And throughout the show, we get further updates on that. Then we had our opening match. That being a number one contenders three-way match to determine who will face the tag team champions next. And you had Pretty Deadly, you had the Brawling Brutes, and you had the Street Profits.
Yes, boy.
It's always the deal where you get like the two teams that are sort of feuding, and then the third team that's going to win.
Lol, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that was the case here because this was like a fun little three-way match, which, has that come out yet? Hang on, I don't want to spoil anything.
What?
It's an episode of No Holds Barred that I don't think has come out yet.
Oh.
No. I'm going to save that.
Spoiler.
But the Triple Threat Tag Team match.
Yes, sir.
Not a favorite match of some people that I've talked to.
Really?
Yeah. To be part of rather than actually watch. Because usually a three-way tag, I think, produces pretty good results.
Me too.
You know?
Yes.
But...
And Fatal 4-Way ones as well. I enjoy any tag team action that goes on.
Yeah.
The more the team, the merrier.
Yeah. Love a good tag match. But in this case, it was a friendly fire from Butch on Ridge Holland. He hits like a brogue kick type deal on his partner, and that causes distraction, confusion, befuddlement, and then the Street Profits hit the revelation for the win. And in the middle of all of this, B-Fab was once again shown talking to Bobby Lashley. So stuff's going on there. Still don't know exactly what, but you can use your imagination. There's a business deal happening of some sort. And so the Street Profits are now back in title contention, which is a big thumbs up, I would say. I think probably they're the best tag team of these three. They're the tag team that has kind of gotten the most consistent story progression on SmackDown outside of just vignettes and such. I don't know how that is going to work with Street Profits and the Judgment Day.
Heel versus heel, baby.
Heel versus heel. Maybe you could do something there because there has been a history of the Street Profits kind of struggling with their heeldom over the last few months. That being said, they have more or less committed to being heels since then. So maybe not. Maybe we'll just get a heel versus heel match. But maybe they'll win. And maybe we'll get the tag titles back on SmackDown.
You know what? I was thinking that, but at the same time, I was kind of saddened that every tag team are saddled with 2 tag golds. They need to split it.
Yeah.
Because if you put a title on SmackDown, SmackDown's fortune's been restored. But Raw now then suffers with having, a heavy tag division, but no tag titles. They need to split it up.
I don't disagree. I think no matter which brand doesn't have the tag titles is going to suffer for it. But you've got Seth Rollins, the world champion on Raw. You've got Gunther, the Intercontinental champion on Raw. You've got a women's champion on Raw. You don't got most of those things on SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
Your mid-card champion's now on a celebrity.
Mm-hmm.
Your world champion wrestles 4 or 5 times a year.
Oh, wow.
All we got is a women's champion.
Yeah.
And the women didn't get any matches on this show.
No.
So we could really do with some belts.
There's a drought on SmackDown. Wow. There's a drought on SmackDown. Lack of champions, most in part-time celebrities or whatever it is.
Hell, I would take the women's tag titles at this point. They were
Lol.
on here for like a week. And then they got beat by the tag team amnesia team of Shotzi and Charlotte.
Tag team amnesia. Everyone suffers it. But before we skedoodle from this point, Ridge Holland and Butch, a.k.a. Pete Dunne. I'm still fascinated by the fact that Sheamus has not left Canada. He's stuck in Toronto, as far as I'm concerned. Mm-hmm. He fought with Edge. Edge beat him. They went for drinks, and he fell asleep somewhere. He's got amnesia? Because we haven't seen Sheamus since the summer.
Yeah, he's sleeping under the Gardner
I
Expressway.
keep assuming that they're doing this to make us forget, so he pops up on Raw. Because part of me still feel like he is between him. Sidebars between him and Chad Gable to beat Gunther for the title, and I feel like as much as I want Chad Gable to win it, Sheamus, dude's like already in his like mid-40s. He's really hanging on for that one more accolade, and then he can go, I can retire in peace. Mm-hmm. So I do feel like Sheamus may potentially go back to Raw, because they're breaking up Brawling Brutes. Because from the looks of it, Rich Holland is frustrated. Brawling Brutes been losing. They're not like this fearsome trio they used to be. It's just they show their former selves. It's kind of like this tag team is dragging both guys down. We know that what Pete Dunne's capable of as a singles competitor, because he's had accolades already as being, NXT UK champion and so forth, and other stuff he's done in NXT and NXT UK and a bit on the main roster. But Rich Holland is the unproven commodity. Rich Holland looks like the kind of wrestler that Vince McMahon would have pushed back like in 2006, 2007.
He seems like the guy that would have gotten the 2-month push, like the Mason Ryan push.
Okay, he's the guy I was thinking. See, he knows. See, this is why he's the brains of this operation sometimes, man. He's this guy that knows stuff. Yeah, he seems like the kind of guy Vince would have pushed, and then after that, he's green. And then he would have got demoted and be given a comedy character and then get released. Or then go developmental, get good, and then get released. That's what happened to Mason Ryan. But with Rich Holland, we've seen him get better in real time. Yeah, there's still like some bad taste about what, the whole Biggie situation with the belly to belly, it was an accident, whatever. But he's gotten better in the ring. But he's someone I'm not sure how he'll, do well on the main roster by himself, because I don't know how Triple H will push him. We saw bits of Rich Holland on NXT before he joined up with, Pete Dunne and Oni Lorcan, and I'm blanking on the last
Danny
guy.
Burch.
Danny Burch. I was say Martin Stone, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, we saw what he did as part of that group and also by himself. So I don't know. He's definitely will flourish more as a heel. As a babyface, I can see him being a bit of a lunkhead. But as a heel, they'll make him a monster. I don't know if there's room for him. I feel like the heel side on SmackDown, especially with Santos turning heel, I always look at where your progression will be. Yeah, he turns heel, but then what? Have a one pay-per-view or pre-show match with Butch where he probably beats him, and then what? Do you know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying, and it would be the guy that I would really worry about in this scenario. Maybe not so much if it had happened 2 years ago, where if they had gone their separate ways and Vince was still in charge, I would have said that Ridge Holland would probably get the push, at least the short-term push coming out of the breakup. But now with Triple H running things again, and you already know that he's a big fan of Pete Dunne, I could see that Pete Dunne would be the one that would kind of be taken care of coming out of that, being used as another contender for a mid-card championship. I don't know if Gunther would still be Intercontinental Champion by then, but that's a match that I really want to see, etc.
So you'd put Butch on Raw after this?
No, I would take Walter and put him back on SmackDown. No, he's on Raw. I'm over it. Maybe. I don't know. Because I want Walter to continue to have great matches. And he doesn't necessarily need to be an Intercontinental Championship match. Because, the agenda is still Gunther to win the Royal Rumble and beat Seth Rollins for the world title at WrestleMania. I could see that being a hell of a match for the world title. If they really gave Butch a shot and a push between now and then to get him up to world title contender status, just having good matches, winning matches, singles matches, he could, and maybe not even a pay-per-view, maybe just like a big Raw, but have that be the main event of Raw. Have them go 25 minutes, tear the house down, and you start making that world title feel like a world title. Not that Seth's done a bad job, but come on. Gunther, you see what he's done with the Intercontinental Championship.
Done a great
you
job,
put the
yeah.
world title on him and have him go up against the folks like Pete Dunne. You put him and Ilya Dragunov in that Germany pay-per-view main event. You're not going to have bad results if you do that.
No,
so,
siree.
my guess in all of this is that the Brawling Brutes probably go their separate ways here.
But Ridge has definitely seemed like the one that's going to turn the heel. But what do you do with Ridge? No offense, I kept thinking Lars Sullivan. You give him the Lars Sullivan push, it was like just being a monster, just beats up people. But I just don't. I'm keep saying I don't know because it's kind of scary. Because look what happened to Omos. It's like the only giant that it seems like the only big guy that Triple H likes is Bronson Reed.
Hey, he's short.
Most of them are short. Even Otis is short.
I thought you were going to say almost as short. I was like, are you quite right? No. Anyway, we'll move on from this, but it will be interesting to see what happens with the Brawling Brutes in the weeks and months to come. Backstage,
Yes, sir.
Michin gets taken out by Damage Control as they start going around and taking out all the possible babyface candidates to fill that final slot in a WarGames match. The WarGames match is announced in the earlier segment. They're like, yeah, we're going to do WarGames. Find yourself another partner. So,
And also, going back to that segment we were talking about earlier, Bailey didn't know that they made the challenge for WarGames. It seems like the low-key leader is Dakota Kai. It seems like, well, she's definitely the spokesperson for the other three ladies.
Yeah.
Dakota's definitely in on it. I posted on Twitter that she's got a history of turning on people, so
she
don't
sure
trust her.
does.
Yes.
In WarGames, in fact.
As well, yeah, exactly. I couldn't find the video online, which annoyed me, but I got pictures, though. Ask Raquel and ask,
Tegan.
Yeah, I was going to say Nixon Newell. That name is much more imprinted in my mind than what's a WWE name? Tegan Knox. Ask Tegan, she'll tell you, don't trust that Dakota Kai.
No, do not. And then we got my favorite thing on the show. Yes. And that, well, I say that.
A
My favorite
Tempest
match,
special.
A Tempest special. Because we had a little backstage deal that was shot earlier in the day of Dragon Lee going to Nick Aldis and saying, like, let me represent Rey Mysterio. Let me prove to Rey Mysterio why I deserve to be on the team or something of that nature. Mm-hmm. And Nick Aldis says, okay, I'm going to let you showcase yourself tonight. I've called up the folks at NXT, and I've had them loan me Axiom so you two can go out and have a great match. So that is exactly what happens. Axiom gets a little video package to highlight his strengths to the new audience that probably hasn't seen him before. And they go out, and they have a great match. They have a match that I very much like is becoming a pattern on SmackDown. It's like we said last week. It's very good to have a little bit of variety on SmackDown. Mm-hmm. It's good to engage as many different kinds of audiences as possible on SmackDown. And it's, been in the news that Triple H is trying to make SmackDown kind of a show where Kairi Sane's taken more seriously this time. The Luchadors are taken a little bit more seriously this time. You're going to get guys like Dragon Lee going out there, having great matches as a way to not only reestablish them as stars, but also make WWE seem like a little bit more of an appealing landing spot for potential free agents.
Yeah, come over here, guys.
Now, it might take a little while for me to reset and refresh my brain to not hear that a free agent that I really love has signed with WWE and just go, no! Kushida, what are you doing? You're going to be on 205 Live.
See, that happened.
It might take a little while for my brain to be recalibrated, but in the long run, this, if done consistently, can only be a good thing to WWE, in my opinion. Because not only in the week-to-week do we get great matches like this, but it will have long-term effect on the kind of wrestlers they're able to sign, that they're able to showcase, and are therefore able to build more of their shows around.
Well, yes, to piggyback off what you're saying, what I like about what they're doing with Dragon Lee is I feel like I'm hoping they're establishing a pattern on SmackDown, because that's the one thing that Triple H did. He's like, when he did on Raw, it was like you get your weekly 15-minute match, and he was establishing patterns of great wrestling on shows. So I'm hoping that the Dragon Lee match becomes a featured thing on SmackDown. Like every week, Dragon Lee's wrestling. Who's he gonna wrestle? You know, they give him different guys, showcasing different guys that you wouldn't usually see on the show. You know, Cedric Alexander had a couple of weeks to shine, and they're doing Axiom. And it would be like, who's next? You might get Noam Dar next. Who knows? You know, you might get like I'm gonna think which other wrestlers I would do. You know, you might get, I would say Ben Carter. I'm not even knowing the actual, what is their NXT name?
Nathan Frazier.
That's it. I was like, what's this generic British name? Nathan Frazier might be over here next week to challenge Dragon Lee. I love how they establishing that. He's like the unofficial cruiserweight champion on SmackDown because he doesn't have a title, but his matches are something to behold.
Yeah, absolutely. And this was very much one of them. There was a lot of really fun action, a lot of really good dynamic movement. They did Spanish Fly. They did a one-arm power bomb. And finally, Dragon Lee hit Operation Dragon Lee, as Road Dogg said on commentary. I don't think that name's going to stick. It was the Destino, and he got the win. I really like this match. This is the kind of match that makes me excited to tune into SmackDown when I see it on a card. I love Dragon Lee. I always have. And I very much like that he's one of the guys on our show.
Also, could you admit that he got given great advice to go to WWE instead of AEW? Because he would just would have been one of many. He would have probably been in LFI. It wouldn't make sense because he got humiliated and demasked by his brother. But yeah, because, come on, variety adds the spice of life. He looks like the biggest thing being on that show because he's not one of many luchadors. People are like, you know what I'm saying? It's not, it hasn't been, what's the word? People don't have burnout from seeing so many luchadors on the show. He looks great. He doesn't have the whole Sin Cara situation where there's like timing issues. He went to, the developmental. He got told to look at a hard camera. He got told to not hit so hard, and now he's here.
Listen, I'm not going to say it wouldn't have worked out in AEW, but as we're sitting here right now, it is working out in WWE so far.
Yes, sir.
So that's a big thumbs up. I'm not going to say that he shouldn't have gone to WWE because we'll see where everything ends up, but he's doing pretty well so far.
Are you hinting it's too early to do a victory lap? He could.
I mean, maybe. Like, he's had a few good matches on SmackDown, and if this is anything to go by, it gives me some confidence that this is going to work out for him. But, we'll ask me again in a year, and we'll see where he's at on the card and everything.
Quickly, I'm going to ask you, Axiom. How do you think Axiom did he leave a good impression for you? Because that's how Dragon Lee started off that way. He started off as the guy that randomly turned up on a show and had a bang of a match against Dominic, and look where he is now. Did Axiom do the same thing? Did he maximize his minutes in your mind?
I mean, yes and no. It was interesting because he was very clearly, like, when Dragon Lee was on that episode of Raw, he was sort of the featured performer of that match, even though he was there to make Dominic look good. So it's a different sort of situation. It's a little bit apples to oranges, where here the Dragon Lee was still the feature performer of this match. Correct. It wasn't necessarily Axiom's time to look like the big star. He went out there to be a very good wrestler, and I think he did a very good job with that. But I don't think there are going to be loads of people clamoring to see another Axiom performance like they were when Dragon Lee turned up on Raw. So I think, yes, I think he did very well with what was asked of him in a way that will make the people backstage happy. But I don't think he necessarily popped the whole crowd and made them clamor for more. But that also wasn't his role on this night.
Tempest said he was a good hand. Nothing more but a good hand. It was. You said, I love it because I read it. You're like, this is how I read it in my head. Good hand performance. It was a good hand performance. When Dragon Lee was on Raw, he stole the show. But this was a good hand performance. So yeah, good hand.
I will give you a good hand, Axiom.
Good hand, Axiom, yes.
So then we had Santos Escobar coming down to the ring.
With his old theme.
With his old theme. Old theme. And old attire. He comes out looking real suave.
He found money again because he was acting like he was broke for the last. Look at him, for the last 6-7 months. He was acting like he's broke and telling us a sob story. I'm like, dude, you own a yacht. I've seen your yacht on NXT. You live the nice lifestyle. What is this humble crap I'm seeing from you? This is the emperor of Lucha Libre I've been missing. But at the same time, kudos to Triple H for actually allowing fans to get to know Santos Escobar, build a rapport and a connection, and then smash it to smithereens for him to get booed.
Yeah. That, I think, is a very good point because Santos Escobar debuted on the main roster a year ago and was a heel, but the main roster fans didn't have as much of a reason to get invested in this character. Mm-hmm. And for a while, he was just sort of there. Like, he made it to the finals of that Intercontinental Championship #1 Contenders tournament with Ricochet and had a really good match and everything. But there wasn't much of a reason to care about the character of Santos Escobar. And now you look at him a year later, and visually he looks as he did with the Legado del Fantasma presentation, but there's so much more investment into that character. So while I wasn't the biggest fan of, like, everything the LWO did, because you look at their run and it's like, okay, most of the time they were there to eat pins for the Judgment Day leading up to WrestleMania and stuff. But since then, there's been some good storyline stuff and a lot of stuff that was built and has made Santos Escobar feel like a much bigger star than he was a year ago. So that gets a big thumbs up. And as for this segment, he comes out and he says, never meet your heroes. Ooh. My hero was Rey Mysterio. I wanted to be just like Rey Mysterio. But then, he sided with an outsider like Carlito over me.
I was thinking, was like, is it because he's Puerto Rican? I don't know. I was thinking, is it because he has a Mexican? And like, why'd you let that Puerto Rican in? And, I don't know. Or probably, maybe that's not it. But I was really too deep into it. He's like, you let an outsider in. An outsider? Is it because he lives in the islands? And you guys anyway, cool. Yeah. I was like, cool. Yeah, sure. Outsider.
Anyway.
Yeah.
He says Ray took his U.S. championship match. He should have been the U.S. champion. And he took that match. And he won the U.S. title. And then he started to reshape the LWO and welcome in an outsider like Carlito. And he's going to believe him over me. And I had to do what I had to do. And he starts talking S-word to Carlito in Spanish. And he says, Ray, I don't hope your surgery goes well. I hope you get an infection.
What?
I hope your leg gets amputated.
Hold on.
So we can never see you again.
That was dark.
It was like, Jesus Christ. All right.
Player hate of the year, this guy is.
Yeah. Right? Like, we were talking last week about this heel turn being done, like, real subtly. Like, you know, it wasn't just like a switch was flipped. Like, it was kind of a slow progression over the course of a segment. And then you get this where it's just like, I hope you lose your leg.
You know what? No, you know what? It makes sense. He had a week to sit on this. This guy's been sitting on it, stewing on it, drinking his scotch, chucking it against the fireplace, the whole dramatics, and then he comes back. And I love the fact that he still maintains, woe is me. Yeah. He is like, it's not my fault. I did everything right. You all stole from me. And he did a sacrilegious thing of saying, Dominic was right about you.
That was the thing I missed there.
Yeah.
He said Dominic was right, which is just the most heinous thing you could say to Rey Mysterio. So Zelina Vega comes out, and she is crying, she's weeping, and he says, you're either with them or you're with me. And she's crying, and eventually she slaps him. And then she leaves. And he's mad, and Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro come out, and he's yelling at them, you're going to be with them or are you going to be with me? You were nothing without me. They get in the ring, and they're like, nah, man, you're out of line. What you did to Ray, what you just said to Zelina, you're out of line. And he goes, all right, go then. You're nothing without me. You're dead weight. Which, I mean, if you've been watching the LWO, I don't think they've got any wins.
Yeah,
you know?
He's kind of right.
He's not exactly wrong when it comes to this stuff. Maybe in NXT you could argue otherwise. But here, he's like, yeah, go on. Go be with them. And they turn around to leave, and he hits both of them. And he's beating both of them down, and then Carlito comes out. And this is where Santos bails, and they set up a match for Survivor Series. It's going to be Carlito versus Santos in Carlito's first one-on-one pay-per-view match since 2007.
There you go. See? This knowledge. Trivia. It's a match where I want no one to lose. I mean, I feel like I'm in this position where I see so many guys that I like and they wrestle each other and you just don't want any of them to lose because on paper it makes the most sense for Santos to win to build that momentum against Rey Mysterio. But also, Carlito just came back, and you can argue he already had his first pay-per-view win because he came back on the pay-per-view, but it's like his first one-on-one, you know what I'm saying? It leads to what you've been saying about how they've brought Carlito back to be more of a veteran that's going to put over younger guys and establish them. But I feel like he's got a lot more juice in the tank to, to be a big player in WWE. But anyway, so now, we were talking about it last week, how we assume this feud between Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar is going to involve a lot more players involved. So it's not going to be like a one-on-one blood feud like it was between Dominic and Rey. And it seems there were reports that saying that it's true. They envision it to be more of a group against group dynamic. Initially, we thought that that Cruz and Joaquin are going to go back. It could still happen because that attack was, I don't know, he kicked them, but I don't know if he kicked them enough for them to be like, that was a great ruse, man. Yeah, we're gonna sucker him. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if it reached Vince Russo territory of like nonsensical, kind of like he just beat them up. And then you can almost argue it was too easy. 2 against 1. You guys look like chumps. I don't know. It's either that they actually are, friction between them, or you could see the return of Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo to be part of the new group or the new Legado del Fantasma to fight against Rey Mysterio's LWO. And also, Elektra Lopez, who was initially part of, Legado del Fantasma, but they kept her in NXT and they chose Zelina instead. She could debut and be, the heavy for Santos like she was before.
You said Elektra Lopez could end up on the main roster, and I think that is one of the most plausible ideas I have heard as of late. Like, you're going to need more bodies in this little rivalry if this is the direction they want to go. And having someone to offset Zelina Vega, I think probably makes a lot of sense in that case. So, we will see where all of this goes. I thought Santos's work here was very good. I think his presentation is very good. I'm very much looking forward to seeing where he goes next. I see big things for him, and maybe a Santos versus Rey match at WrestleMania is in the cards.
I want to rush the push with him because for many reasons. You saw his promo, great on the microphone. He knows how to emote. The guy gets very passionate on the microphone, the way you rarely see. You can tell, like, I'll be shocked that they actually gave him a script and he read it because he almost feel like his own words came from his heart. Again, I keep saying age thing. I know Vince's not around anymore, but, Santos Escobar turns 40 next year. So let's not mess around, guys. Let's stick the rocket ship. Give him a feud of Rey. Rey put him over and give him the U.S. title or something. Like let's go all the way. Because I feel like he's that guy. Like Dragon Lee's that guy. In terms of the future of like the Latino, wrestlers on the main roster, I feel like Santos is definitely that guy.
I completely agree. Santos can be your top heel. Dragon Lee can be your top babyface. You're set.
He's everything they wanted Andrade to be, I feel like. They wanted a guy that's fluent on the microphone, is Mexican, has got a great family background.
Handsome.
Handsome. He ticks all the box. Yeah, he's that guy. I love Andrade, but with Santos, you don't have to do too much in order to get where he needs to be. He just knocks out of the park. He needs no help with that.
Yeah. Big fans of Santos Escobar.
Yes, we are.
Then we had a very simple little match, as it was Grayson Waller versus Cameron Grimes, with Austin Theory on commentary. Gee, thanks. This was a match. This was the most a-match thing I've seen on SmackDown in quite some time. They do their back-and-forth deal. Grayson Waller looks like he's going for his rolling stunner, but hits a rolling flatliner instead. He then rolls to the outside after Cameron Grimes goes for the stomp. And Austin Theory's helping him out on the outside. And Waller ducks, and Grimes does a kick on Austin Theory. Then Waller, trips him up, puts him on his head. And then Cameron Grimes rolls back in, and Grayson Waller hits the dingo driver, which is his, rolling, flipping kill switch thing, and gets the win. And I'm not opposed to Grayson Waller having, a secondary finisher, because I do think that his rolling stunner is very situational. And I think him rolling out of the ring just to roll back into the ring to hit the stunner is ludicrous.
Yeah,
I hate that. It's my least favorite thing when you have to do that much setup for a move, because you could just hit a stunner and it's the same thing.
You can still roll into a stunner. That's what you're trying to say. You still be in the ring. Just roll into a stunner.
That being said, I think this move looks trash. It never looks impactful to me. And that's it. He just gets the win, and then they leave. And there's nothing before or after or whatever. And I guess you want to keep him strong. But this was Grayson Waller's first win on the main roster in a singles match. So, like...
Well, there you go.
You know, there's that. But, like, Cameron Grimes is a nobody on this show. They've just given up. Like, I don't think they ever didn't give up. Like, he beat Baron Corbin in 3 seconds. But that's all they've ever done with this guy.
I'm assuming with Triple H now back in power, in his mind, he'll rehab Cameron Grimes after WrestleMania.
That's so far from now, though.
Because there's other
That's
wrestlers.
like 5 months from now.
I know. I could be wrong, but I do see that in his mind, they've locked in who they're gonna push for WrestleMania season. And no offense, he's like Cameron Grimes, Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal candidate. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. Gee Willikers.
Get me Trevor Lee back in TNA.
You know what? This is what happened to Cameron Grimes, and it sucks. He was doing great, right? NXT had a character, had a presentation, had the music, had who the character motivation was. What happened? I think Vince would like it more if you. Yeah. So he became what Vince wanted. So you put him in the main roster. So Triple H is like, I didn't order this, Cameron Grimes. Who's this? Where's your chest hair? Where's your beard?
How long is it gonna take you to grow out your beard, pal?
Yeah. So I think where it is, they have to kill this version. I'm worried they have to give him a repackaging because he debuted on the show without the backstory we know of him, with becoming a millionaire, the great feud with LA Knight, the $1 Million title, all of that great stuff that we know. No one in the main roster knows that. They don't know why he's got money to the moon. No one knows the backstory of that or the music video. So this guy could be over, but he's on the wrong show. It's weird because he's a worker. So he should be on SmackDown in your mind. But I feel like because of his comedy timing, he should be on Raw.
Sure. Have him do skits with Otis or something. I don't know.
Oh, then he ain't gonna get that much of a push. I don't know. Because I don't want him to be the next Heath Slater because I'm worried. They'll look at me like, oh, next Heath Slater. But Triple H and William Regal, they know who Trevor Lee is. They know his pedigree, former PWG champion, former X Division champion in TNA. This guy has got it. He's one of the best young wrestlers. He was one of the best young wrestlers because he's a bit older. But at the time when I was watching him on the Indies and what he's doing, he's from the House of Hardys. He's from Omega. His dad used to be a wrestler. This guy's got such a pedigree for wrestling that they shouldn't make him a one-note babyface, and that's what we're seeing.
Sure is. Backstage, we saw Damage Control beating up Zelina Vega, so that's another babyface that won't be on this team. Mm-hmm. And then after the Paul Heyman, Jimmy Uso, LA Knight, Cody Rhodes thing that we already talked about, we had the actual main event segment of this show, that being Bianca Belair, Shotzi, and Charlotte coming down to the ring after saying backstage that, well, I called her, but I don't know if she's going to make it in time.
Who is her?
Who's her?
And who did Charlotte call?
My God. So they go down to the ring, and Damage Control is ready to attack. And who makes the save but Becky Lynch?
Out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. Becky Lynch comes down, and all the heels and the babyfaces brawl to go off the air. So, your theory, potentially, that Kevin Owens gets traded back to Raw briefly to take part in the men's WarGames match makes a little bit more sense when you think that potentially Becky Lynch could go SmackDown way to take part in the women's WarGames match.
Yes.
So, this was a fine opening and closing through line for the show. I like it when a wrestling show feels like it has a narrative to an episode, and this one certainly did. Bingo. With this who's going to be on the babyface team at WarGames deal. My one criticism of this is that because, all 9 of the women on SmackDown are all involved in the same storyline.
Yes, sir.
Means that we don't get any women's matches on this show.
Which was so bad.
It's a little unfortunate.
We had a reminder. What Mia Yim could have wrestled. You're like, she could have taken on Alba Fire maybe and put over Alba Fire. For, there could have been many things they could have done.
They've given up on the Alba Fire Isla Dawn thing. I'm convinced.
They haven't.
They did 2 vignettes, and then they were shown backstage watching the tag team amnesia match, and they haven't been seen since. And that was 3 weeks
maybe they
ago.
watched the tag team amnesia and then they got amnesia, and then they forget.
Maybe they did. Maybe it gets transmitted through television screens or something. I don't know, but that is my one little note of criticism for this women's WarGames business is. Yeah, you need more women on SmackDown to be able to sustain a feud like this. Because
Yes.
I really enjoyed the feud last week when the main event was all the top women having a big match, but we didn't get that match this week. So it meant that we didn't get any match.
Boo. But I thought you were going to talk about the awkward ending to the show.
Well, yeah, there was that too. Go ahead.
What? You don't want to sit
Go on. I'm spent.
He's spent. So, what happened in the closing fight? You had a Team Bianca and Team Damage Control all fighting each other. And then you had Charlotte Flair. Superhero Charlotte Flair goes up to the top rope and she does her patent moonsault. And at the same time she's doing that, Io Sky was also doing a moonsault as well. So you have both ladies getting up, looking at each other, doing a stare-off. You think you're special? You do. I can see it in your eyes. So they got caught up in the music in their head, and eventually they realized, oh crap, we're still on camera. And they started a little awkward brawl. It was so awkward. It's kind of like they were standing there, and all of a sudden, Io just went, and then Charlotte goes, I guess. And then they picked up the pace, but just like how it started, because how you start a brawl, it kind of like sets the pace of how the brawl is gonna go. So it started a bit lackluster. It looks like it was like there was no heart behind this. It was very awkward. They stood there, and all of a sudden, like, crap, what's our cue? Did I miss our cue? Oh, crap. So yeah, watch that scene. It was a bit awkward. It didn't let the segment down, but it just didn't make sense. Someone missed the cues of when to start attacking. I don't know, but yes, that happened.
Yeah, not the best ending of SmackDown, as in like the last shot, but otherwise a decent go off the air angle because Becky Lynch being involved in this is a very big deal.
And I also like the fact they didn't cue up her music. They made it seem like she legit was dressed in her gear, waiting, or maybe that's why she was late.
Yeah.
Maybe it was like, I need your help. Charlotte's like, I need your help. And they're like, who's this? It's me. Oh, I haven't seen you since we dropped our belts, whoever it was. He goes, all right, cool, fine. Bianca, all right, I'll help Bianca out. Shotzi, I don't really know her. But yeah, Bianca, I help her out. Sure, I'll be there. Need to get dressed. It's like, Seth, I need you to look after our daughter for me, all right? And you're like, we're in the bus. We're already here. Yeah. Just give me 5 minutes. I need to get dressed. Yeah, because she had her gear on, but I like the fact they didn't cue up her music. Because usually there's always like a grab for people. It's like they had the music ready for a surprise. How is it a surprise if the music guy knows you're coming out? But anyway, yeah, that was good.
Indeed. And that is going to bring our SmackDown review to a close. But before we get out of here, we have some very important people that we need to thank. Those being our $25 and above Pledgehammers over at patreon.com/WrestleTalk and our wonderful moderating team. So, a big thank you to Willie Big E Singleton. Yeah.
The Lumberjack. Double X Logs. Double X. What is that name?
Pitch Perfect Isaac Octave. Yeah.
The Gaelic Storm, Heather Murphy.
Yeah. Andrew Gifford, the Big Red Dog. Yeah. And of course, our moderating team, without whom we would never be able to do this job. Big thank you to Andy. Yeah.
Mud Brother Gaz.
Yeah. Ian. Yeah.
Mud Brother James.
Yeah. Jay. Yeah.
Mud Brother John.
Yeah. Les. Yeah.
Mud Brother Rob.
Yeah. Thank you very much to all of our moderators. We wouldn't be able to do any of this without you. Thank you very much, Sat, for joining me once again. We will be back on Sunday with our review of AEW Full Gear. Who is the big signing? We don't know yet. We have our theories, but we will see. Make sure you enjoy the pay-per-view. Make sure you check out the latest edition of Fantasy Booking Warfare over on partsFUNknown, where I take on Lori Blake as we book the end of Asuka's streak. Until then, I've been Tempest. That's been Sat. That was SmackDown, and we'll see you next week. The house always wins.